welcome everyone. Welcome to the Total Truth Show. And here on the Total Truth Show, we want to help you break free from the lies and propaganda of the mainstream media. All the disinformation and misinformation, we want to help you blast through all of that. And my name is Ken Kleinberg, coming to you all the way from the USA, San Diego, California.
And I'm Aldwyn Altuney, known as the Media Queen from the Gold Coast in Australia.
There is a great awakening happening in the world right now, and you're going to want to come along for the ride.
A lot of lies are coming to the surface. There's a lot of awakening happening, and as this awakening is happening, people realize they've been deceived for years. They've been lied to for years around all sorts of things. A lot of people have been blind to what has been going on in the world, and now they're starting to see. They're starting to see things in a different light.
Through our show, we want to raise global consciousness to quantum critical mass. And we don't want you just to accept the things that we're saying. That goes for our guests as well. We want you to do the research for yourself. Get out there and start questioning things. Start looking things up. Do the research. We want to pave the way for a new awakened world. And we want you to come along for the ride. So with that, let's get started, you guys. Let's dive into today's episode. Once again, welcome.
Welcome to Total Truth Show episode 125. Can you believe it, Ken? 125. Oh my gosh.
Wow.
We're almost a quarter of the way through, coming to our 200th episode, which obviously we'll do a big celebration for. And today's topic is a hot one. We are talking about the truth about energy today. We have Emma Ballard with us, our special guest, and we'll tell you a little bit about Emma in just a sec. Now, before we go to that, now, Ken, you had a birthday recently and a big tragedy happened that we need to share with our viewers, and we're sending you extra love today because our last show was cancelled that was due to be on your birthday, and because of what happened, we couldn't go ahead with the show. So Ken, sending you much love and happy birthday, although it wasn't such a happy birthday due to what happened. Would you care to share about what happened on your birthday?
Well, here in the United States, it was a day before my birthday. So thankfully that it wasn't directly on my birthday. In Australia, it was my birthday. And I really didn't intend on sharing this tonight, but I'll go ahead and share just a little piece of it. So my baby, my beloved kitty, who's been with me for 17 years and has been faithful to me for those 17 years, we had to put him down very unexpectedly this last Friday. And it's been a very difficult road to walk down. They say you only get one special one in your whole lifetime. Well, he was mine. So we are definitely grieving. But all right, so enough about that because I do not want to cry. So let's move on from that.
Yeah, thank you, Ken, and sending much love. We had your beautiful kitty cat on many of our episodes. He'd sort of walk across the screen and we'd see this little tail and, he'd be meowing in the background. And so, sending you ultra love today. And
thank you.
I know exactly what you're going through because my beautiful cat Tiger died about 2 years ago now, I believe, and we had him for 15 years. He was a rescue cat. And I cried and cried and cried. I journaled. I spoke to Annie Burke, who's an amazing animal communicator, if anyone is going through a similar situation. And then within a month after that, I adopted another cat, and that really helped me with the grieving process. So I do recommend for those that are grieving over pets that there's always another pet out there that needs your love and support. So, however, what will be will be. And of course, we are talking about energy. And of course, our energy in life will go up and down depending on life's unexpected circumstances and depending on how we show up. So our special guest today, Emma Ballard, who is doing a awesome event on Valentine's Day. Now, Ken and I are both single, so Valentine's Day is often shared with our family or our loved ones. I mean, we have at the Happy House, we have a dog, 2 cats, 6 chickens, and 2 water dragons that all get along. So no matter where you are in the world, you can always connect with another being on the planet and share some love, because there's certainly a lot of love to be had out there. And as my girlfriend Tracy Corman says to me, she is the founder of Two's Company. She says, all the love you have for others is there for you too. So for those who want to find out more about that, we will be telling you about that a bit more today. A heart-led Valentine's Day experience is what it's going to be at Hippocrates Centre, one of our favourite places on the Gold Coast at Mudgeeraba. It's a Valentine's Day heart activation workshop that Emma is hosting this Saturday, 9:30 to 3 p.m. And I believe it's almost sold out. Is that right, Emma?
Yeah, the numbers just keep going up. I'm a bit terrified about catering, but I've just got to cook more, basically. But it'll be fine. I'll handle it. It's all good.
Yeah, beautiful. All right, so about Emma. Now, Emma's been doing energy work for 5 years, offering spiritual life coaching, helping people to journey to the heart, as well as doing Reiki massage, guided meditation, and during treatments, she uses PMF healing therapy mats. And really looking forward to the workshop on Saturday. I'm actually flying to Sydney Saturday night, but I will be there this Saturday for those who are attending. And it's a great cause too. It's helping to support Destiny Rescue, which is the cause that BX Networking supports, has supported for 3 years now. And we love what Destiny Rescue do. So welcome to the show, Emma.
Thank you.
Great to have you here. Now, why did you pick the topic energy for our show today? The truth about energy.
Yeah, well, I guess that's probably through doing the work, that's probably what I'm most knowledgeable in, and I think, a lot of people don't really look at things through the eyes of energy. And when you start to do that, you get a very different perspective on things.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Life is energy. Everything you do in life is about energy. And it's interesting. I hopped on a event with Success Resources last night. Actually started at 11 p.m. our time. I'm actually in Bribie Island at the moment with my folks. And 11 p.m. till 2 a.m. this event was on. And the guys that were hosting it were talking about the importance of energy. And they were saying, without your energy, none of it matters. You could have all the best business strategy in the world. You could have the best business in the world. But without your energy driving behind the business and in your life in general, you're not going to be able to really have a great life without great energy. So what are some things you do, Emma, to lift your energy?
Well, I guess, the basic things are, sort of exercising, but, it's really about, energy is really about frequency. So you've got different levels of frequency. So to have what we really want to do is keep our vibration as high as possible. So the way in which you can do that is to drink lots of good quality water, eat as much plant-based as you can, have positive thoughts, so it's a real holistic approach to raise your frequency, and then those sort of lower level learnings or triggers don't bother you quite as much. So yeah, those are the sort of main things. But meditation as well, also raises your frequency, and gets you into alignment every day. So you want to be in energetic alignment, So the work that I do is based on the chakras, So I focus the work on the 7 major chakras. We're moving over to the 12 chakra template as well. So a lot of people have got other chakras opening up, So there's about sort of another 4 above the crown and another 1 beneath our feet, Earth Star chakra. So if you meditate every morning, you're going to get yourself into alignment, energetic alignment. So there's a good chance you'll have a much better day if you meditate every morning. So it's a no-brainer, really. Meditation does so many things. It definitely aligns you, and your mind is in more of a sort of relaxed state. So you're less likely to get stressed.
Yes, totally. And in fact, I did a 20-minute meditation this morning, even though I only had about 4.5 hours sleep. And I know getting enough sleep is another way to lift your energy. However, I tend to operate on, 4.5 to 6 hours personally. But this morning, I actually got up 20 minutes before my alarm after getting to bed at 2:30 in the morning. And I meditated because I thought, oh, that's great. I've got up early. I'm not going to bother going back to bed. I'll just meditate for 20 minutes. And I put on 2 really cool meditations from the Insight Timer app. I use that app, and there's a lot of free meditations on there. There's a paid version of that as well, but it's really good. You can hop on and you can look up morning meditations, and you can just look. So I actually did a 5-minute and a 15-minute one this morning, and it really set me up beautifully for the day. It was talking about how today is the first day of the rest of your life, and it's up to you how you show up today. And I found doing that meditation, I've had a fantastic morning so far, and it's really, really powerful meditating. And I know all successful people I know meditate. It's quite extraordinary. It is a very powerful thing. And especially if you don't think you can meditate, which I didn't think I could for many years. Ken and I have both had some ADHD issues. And, particularly as an ADHD entrepreneur, or classified ADHD, our minds tend to go a million miles an hour. And to actually be able to slow down is really, really powerful. Slow down to speed up. Ken, do you meditate?
On and off, I do. Where I get kind of like my centering and different things like that from are, one, things like my devotions. So I read in my Bible. I pray to my Lord Jesus Christ, and I get my energy from Him, and I get my energy from drawing close to Him. And then the other things that I do, I mean, obviously, oh yes, all things health. Yes, 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 and yes. Exercise, movement, those are all crucial. I try to get in as much sunlight as I possibly can. When I get the chance, I go down to the beach and I put my feet in the sand to get grounding. And the amazing thing that I just recently read about that is the beach is actually one of the most powerful places that you can get the most out of your grounding. And I have actually found that to be true through my own experience. A lot of times when every time that I walk away from the beach after sticking my feet in the sand for a little bit, doing some journaling, the best way I can describe it, I actually feel that grounded state. My whole body just feels at peace, like calm, relaxed, kind of like a reset, if you will. So, so those are kind of like my things.
Yeah, I love that too. I love the beach. And of course, Emma and I are both on the Gold Coast, and it's summertime here. So it's been like heat wave temperature while you're, in winter over there in America.
And today's a cold day. Hence, you've got the beanie hat on. I've got my thick jacket on. I got another layer under here because, we were actually cold today. Now, for those people that might be on here, there's like, you don't know what cold is like. Yes, okay. We're in California. We don't necessarily know what cold is like, but this is cold for us. Truth be known, though, my dream place to be is a place where we get snow 4 or 5 times per year. Not enough to live in and have to shovel, but enough to have fun and enjoy. And to have moderately warm weather, so nothing that goes above 85. See here, even though we live in San Diego, we have days that are 95 to 100 sometimes. And
Fahrenheit.
Fahrenheit. So that is a bit much. I am more of, I like the colder weather, but let's not go extreme with the cold weather. Let's not go below 0, things like that. Unless it's just for a small period of time, like 2 or 3 days, you get a couple things of snow and then it's done. That's like my ideal thing. So anyhow, I don't know why I went on that rabbit trail, but there you go.
Yes, thank you for sharing that, Ken. And I do feel you. I feel your pain there because I definitely prefer the heat to the cold. And Emma, of course, is from London. So Emma, what was it like for you growing up in London?
Yeah, I know all about the cold. Yeah, I've been here 19 years now, so I'm pretty pretty acclimatized now. Yeah,
great. And what brought you to Australia, Emma?
I'm married an Aussie, so Yeah. Who I met in London, yeah.
That would do it. That would do it. And so, well, do you want to live in Australia or London? Well, I know what I'd choose as well. So, so good choice to come here. And it's fantastic to have you as a local for us now. And I want to welcome everyone who's joining us live right now. Holla to Rudy on YouTube. Good to see you there, Rudy. Thank you for joining us. And for those on LinkedIn, Facebook, thank you so much for being with us today. I'd love to hear from you for our live audience today. And actually, let us know if you are live or if you're watching the replay, wherever you're tuning in to this. This will also be on Spotify a bit later as well. So just pop in the chat there, live or replay, so we can see that. And what is something that you do to increase your energy? Now, Emma was talking about the chakras before. Now, I've done a fair bit of study into Dr. Hawkins' scale of consciousness. Dr. Hawkins was a psychiatrist in America who did the map of consciousness. And he talked about energy, frequency, vibration, and that we are, as human beings, we are 99.9% energy, frequency, vibration. And when we get in different emotions, we vibrate at different frequencies, which could be related to our energy, and it's all actually related to our energy centers, which are scientifically proven. People might think, oh, chakras are all woo-woo, but it's actually scientifically proven, all our energy centers through our body. And there's so many energy centers in the body. It's not just sort of the 7 or 8 that we mainly see. There's a lot of different energy centers in the body, and getting conscious to how you are vibrating. You know, we are human vibrators, as Dr. Espen once taught me. I've done a fair bit of his work. We are human vibrators, and we vibrate all the time at different frequencies. And sometimes we resonate with other people's vibrations, and sometimes we don't. And this is why sometimes, you know, you walk into a room and it's like, oh, I really like that person, because you're mostly resonating on a similar frequency. Or sometimes there's like this jarring kind of feeling, like not quite gelling with this person, and perhaps, you know, perhaps they're depressed or you're depressed, or, you know, just not quite aligning with your energies. So Emma, how much has that played out in your life, you know, the sort of matching of frequencies with the people that you hang out with? Or have you really noticed a lot of that sort of you know, that you're just not aligning with certain people or are with others? And how do you work with that when you're out in a say a networking event or something like that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, look, I think at networking events I'm fine, really, to be honest. I'm aware. I observe energy, so I'm aware of different people. Like I guess with you know, like since I've been doing the work, you know, a lot of things have started to open up. So you know, we're on the journey from the base chakra to the crown and beyond. And I feel like because I've been on this path for, you know, a while myself, I guess my clairs have started to open up, you know, so I can see beyond, you know, beyond the physical. A lot of us are intuitive, you know, and that started to open up. But I feel mine's developed a lot more through doing the work, you know, surprisingly, to be honest. But yeah, it's really interesting. So I observe the energy and I'm aware, but I'm not threatened by it, you know, because my frequency is high. So it doesn't really matter. But in terms of, you know, choosing the people I want to hang out with, yeah, I really do tune in and I keep it short if I'm feeling the energy's not right, you know. But I also work in mental health as well. So, you know, there's a lot of telepathic communication that goes on as well, which is also third eye. So fortunately, I'm able to do that, you know, with clients. But yeah, when I'm doing the work, you know, a lot of things sort of open up, you know, and I get a lot of visuals and I hear things, and I'm shown things, and all sorts happens while I'm with the client, you know. So when I'm doing the energy work, so I'm basically, I don't know if you know much about Reiki, but Reiki is a heart-based modality, and it's based on the chakras. And what happens is I'm a channel for the energy, you know, so I'm not a healer per se, I'm a channel for the energy. So when I'm open up, you know, myself to receive energy, I always ask where the energies come from. And surprisingly, it's always from different places, you know, different star systems, sometimes different galaxies. So it's really, really incredible. And the fact that they're showing, you know, because I say, you know, I always ask, where's the energy coming from? And then they'll, you know, they know that I'm not very well clued up on star systems and that sort of thing. So they give me little clues, and then I sort of have to go on that, research trail. And then I was like, oh, okay, that's what you mean, So then I understand, I can make sense of it. So it's really interesting. But yeah, in terms of socially, I'm really quite selective now. And I've got to the point of, I really will only spend time with authentic people. If they're authentic and genuine, then I'll spend time with them. Anything less than that, I'll happy to be an acquaintance. But in terms of my own time, like I really, my own energy, and it's very much a give and take. Energy has to be in balance, and that's the most important thing about the chakras. Everything has to be in balance. So the throat chakra, for example, it's all about speech. Speaking, expressing yourself, speaking from the heart, with clarity, speaking and communicating clearly. But it's not just about that. It's also about listening with empathy and compassion. So you have to be just as good a listener as you are a speaker. So it's all about balance. So when it comes to energy with people, I find that some people are taking more energy and some people are giving more energy. So I have a real sense of that. So when I'm spending time with people, if I think that it's out of balance, and if I think that they're takers, sometimes I pull them up on it and I say, this is out of balance here, and I don't think this is going to work out. So, I wouldn't say I'm becoming ruthless, but I'm becoming quite selective. I do have some good close friends that I've had for many years, but in terms of new people, I'm sort of sussing them out quite quickly. They've got to be genuine. They've got to be authentic. I won't do fake, put it that way. Yeah. What do you think about you guys?
I feel you on that one. And, we are on the Gold Coast where there's a lot of con artists, right? And I tend to think most people are genuine and authentic until proven wrong on that. And so my question there is around, how do you know that they're genuine and authentic?
Look, it's just through observation. You have to be that third party observer, looking at every interaction through the eyes of energy, like shining light on it. What does this mean? This has happened. It doesn't sit well with me. So dig deep, shine light on it. What does it mean? What's it showing me? What's it mirroring to me? Because everything's a mirror. So what's it mirroring to me? Is it something because every time it's something we've got to work on within us, and I think, often we have to change something within us, and sometimes that is just having higher standards and just saying this isn't good enough for me, and no thanks.
Yeah. And I guess trusting your intuition, that's been a big learning for me. Now, you mentioned Reiki. A lot of people might not know what Reiki is, so I've just looked it up to get the official definition. And it's a Japanese technique for stress reduction and relaxation that promotes healing. And it's administered by laying on hands based on the idea that an unseen life force energy flows through us and is what causes us to be alive. Is there any other kind of definition you give that, Emma, or any other clarification on Reiki?
Look, I would say that, it's the chakras are basically a guide for our own evolution, so before clients come to see me, I'll do an energy reading. I'll talk to my guides and I'll do a reading on their energy. And then they come in and they sit down and I say, what's happening in your life? What's going on? And they'll either have some physical issues or some emotional issues or just things, blocks and things not working out. And then I'll sort of tell them what my reading is, and it will be an exact match to what's going on every time, energetically, it will be an exact match. So it's really interesting and they're always surprised. But I haven't had an energy reading that hasn't done that, So it's a guideline. It's a guideline to our evolution, to the work that we need to do. What we need to get out of balance. The shadow work, letting go of the past. When we hold on to things, like it can cause imbalances. All those lower frequency sort of emotions. Really, fear, anxiety, jealousy. Manipulation, greed, they're all low frequency energies. And if somebody's, either if you're a victim of that or if you're a perpetrator of that, then you've got work to do, because they're lower frequency learnings. So once you can sort of overcome that, you never, I think anger is slightly different, because sometimes it's highlighting to us, what we need to look at, because it's a trigger. So all of our triggers are, they're energy to look at, shine light on what does this mean, what's the thread of it, where does it come from, is this a pattern, how can I break it, and so intention is counts for so much, when you're looking at things in that way. But it's about putting emotion aside and really looking at it, really shining light on it, sitting with the emotion, not just trying to turn from angry or upset to I'm going to just forget about it, I'm going to be happy, and I'm going to, and a lot of people do that. They're like, what, I choose joy and I'm just going to go and have some fun. And it's like, well, okay, well, maybe just sit with it and actually feel it, really feel it. A lot of people don't do that. They don't let their emotions flow. Whatever the emotion, let it flow. Really feel it. Allow yourself to feel it. And once you sort of sink into that feeling of having that emotion, then you can sort of start to let it go. And I release it now. I understand it now. Because when you sort of sit with it and you feel it, you start to develop more of an understanding of it, and then you can release it. And then you have a clearing, of that energy. But if you sort of like suppress it, it's going to possibly, manifest into a health condition, which we've seen so many times, I remember being introduced to Louise Hay, like, I don't know, 20 or 30 years ago, and her work is still valid today, it's amazing, it's just incredible.
Yes, I love Louise Hay's work, Heal Your Life. And I totally agree with you. I think it's so important to feel the emotions, to let out whatever needs to come out without doing harm to anyone else, of course. We always come from loving kindness as much as possible. But, the healing is in the feeling. And I do believe the feelings come up, as you say, for us to experience it, to let it out, they're like, it's kind of like the universe or God or whatever you want to call it, giving us insight into what needs some attention right now. So, my dad always said, as a kid, he always said to us, anger is danger. And I suppressed my anger for many years. And I actually internalized at one point. There was a fair bit of self-harm going on there through my teenage years, with a lot of drug abuse and a lot of destructive habits through that time, because I didn't know how to express my anger. I then, I learned to play table tennis. I found that one way to release my anger, through smashing the hell out of the table tennis ball, which actually led to me playing for Australia for 6 years. However, I still was challenged by expressing my anger. I found the media a great way to express my anger, but I could never kind of scream it out or yell it out or, be abusive to anyone. Like, so I very closely linked anger with nastiness, with, I don't want to go there, I don't want to do that. But then I realized I was actually, hurting myself, because that anger ended up leading to depression. And interestingly, my father, who has still to this day, he's 88 years of age, God bless him. I'm actually with him now in Bribie Island, and he's an absolute trooper. He's an amazing guy. He's survived 4 heart attacks, prostate cancer, diabetes, and he's still going strong. But you see, the 4 heart attacks are most likely linked to the fact that he could never cry. And as men, as boys and men, the whole boys don't cry thing, he, even to this day, he has a lot of trouble crying. And I saw the other day, because, mum's in a nursing home now, she can't walk with dementia, and there's been some really challenging times we've had in the last year and a bit. And I've seen there's times that Dad's almost wanted to cry, but he just hasn't been able to quite go there, which of course can lead to issues in the body. And I know, Ken was getting emotional earlier about his darling Putty Cat. And, everyone's on their own journey with this as well, right? However, I must say nowadays I'm better at expressing my anger than I have been in the past, but I do it through direct, straight communication. And I don't kind of go into the forest and scream, although I think that's probably a good idea. I have done some different yoga therapies where we kind of scream it out through different yoga practices and breath practices. I've done a little bit of that. However, yeah, it's still something that
I notice when I do get really angry, and the odd time that I have kind of yelled at someone, which is very, very rare, but whenever it's happened, I've actually felt really bad about it, because I've thought, oh, I actually don't like that feeling in my body, that angry feeling in my body. I don't like it. But if you can channel your anger into something positive, or channel your sadness into something positive, like, for example, I see a lot of animal cruelty, and whenever I see animal cruelty, I think I get either upset or angry by it, and so I reshare about it. I say something about it, I say my piece, and then I feel better that I've actually acted on that thing that I felt angry or upset by. So I think very, very important to express our feelings, and to notice our feelings, and to tune in, and one way or another, whatever works best for you, to find a way to move through that emotion, like the roller coaster ride of life, right? To because sadness and anger are very low on Dr. Hawkins' scale of consciousness. I think anger is around 150 hertz, fear is at 100 hertz. Then we've got love and above is 528 hertz. You've got joy, gratitude, peace, enlightenment. They're all your highest vibrations according to Dr. Hawkins' scale of consciousness, 528 hertz and above. And the very lowest of lows you'll feel is shame or guilt. Shame or guilt. So notice if you've got any shame or guilt in your life, and it could be with yourself, noticing the conversations we have with ourselves sometimes. The number of times I've heard people say, oh, you're such an idiot, and they're talking to themselves. I'm thinking, well, stop calling yourself, right? Stop calling yourself an idiot. You're not an idiot, but it's almost like a preconditioned thing where people kind of joke about it and go, oh, I'm such an idiot, especially in Australia. Very self-deprecating in Australia, right? So just notice your feelings, your thoughts, your words. Notice what's coming out of your mouth, because it will affect your whole vibration and, of course, your energy levels. Ken, is there anything you want to share about that, since you were feeling sad earlier?
Well, let's talk about emotions in general. So emotions in general, like, oh yes, I remember a time in my own life where I would just suppress things, and, just whenever I had an uncomfortable feeling come up for me, frustration, worry, and anxiety are two big ones. Often I would work hard to shove them aside. I would work hard to avoid them. And in the recent couple of years, I have kind of learned to kind of see them, kind of sit with them, and, not necessarily be so quick to shove them aside. So, I mean, that's kind of some of the things that I've learned to do. And a lot of that has to do with knowing that God is in control, knowing that He's got my back, and knowing that He's there with me. Even if emotionally and feeling wise, I don't feel Him there from time to time. There are definitely times where I feel Him there and I know He's there, but there are times where I don't. And it's at the times where I don't that I need to rely on the promises that He gives me, that He is there and that He is walking with me through whatever circumstance I'm going through. And that's the other thing I kind of learned 2 or 3 years ago. I kind of learned to embrace this particular concept and learn to follow by it. So in every circumstance, every trial, every challenge that comes up, you have a choice. You always have a choice. You can become a victim of that circumstance, or you can choose the higher road and the road of empowerment. However, that doesn't always mean that the storm has gone away. The storm can still be raging around you, but you still have a choice on whether you're going to become a victim of that and let that storm control you, or whether you're going to take the higher ground. And like I said, that doesn't mean it's going to get easier. It just means you've chosen to choose the path of put yourself in the driver's seat and take control and empower yourself. I'll never forget, I think it was a while ago. About 12 or 13 years ago, roughly. I can't believe it was that long ago. Wow. I had a friend of mine, and I was over at his house, and we were sitting out on his balcony. We had like a couple just like little drinks that night, and we were just kind of chatting with one another, and we were kind of chatting on a deeper conversation and level. And I remember at that time he told me something that I never forgot. And eventually quite a few years later, it actually sunk in and I kind of started doing something about it. But he said to me, Ken, you let life control you too much. And at the time, I reflected on that. I was like, I'm like, you're probably right. And, yeah, I can see that here and I can see that there, but I really didn't let it sink in at that time. It wasn't until years later to where I was just like, that is a hard truth. And that's exactly what I do. Every circumstance that comes along, every anxiety, every worry, every stress, used to control me all the time. And, since I began teaching the types of frameworks and mindsets that I do in my own program with my clients, I've learned to embrace some of those concepts for myself and learn to realize that I always have a choice. So anyhow, that's just a little bit about that.
Yes, exactly. We always have a choice. And half the thing is actually just getting conscious to where we've been unconscious about our choices and our energy and our thoughts and our feelings and all of it that makes up our energy. And, like how you feel after you eat certain food, for example. I've been really tuning into that lately because I've noticed I've had some love handles. And I know we've got Valentine's Day coming up, and I've got some fantastic love handles I've been developing around my belly, although there's no one there to grab them, so I might just have to grab my own love handles. But anyway, there's plenty of offers. I'm sure people would love to grab my love handles. But anyway, I do want to sort of just tighten up my love handles a little bit. So I've been really noticing when I eat certain foods how I feel. So, for example, if I have bread, I notice, as much as I love bread, I find that unless it's sort of sourdough or, maybe gluten-free or, something that's that hasn't got wheat and gluten in it, I find generally I feel very bloated. I feel heavy. I feel like just having a nap. And I literally, my tummy almost goes twice the size when I have bread. Which is interesting to notice that. Whereas when I eat mainly, salads, raw foods, I feel more energy. I feel, I feel amazing. So most of my diet is fruit and vegetables, most of it. And interesting, I saw Keith Potger this week it was actually Tuesday, 2 days ago. I saw an amazing performance and interview at the Go Set lunch on the Gold Coast with Keith Potger from the Seekers fame. And the Seekers, they had that song Georgie Girl and a whole lot of other huge hits back in the 60s or so. And Keith Potger is now 85 years of age, and he is vegan. Right, he's been vegan for a long time, and he's very, very healthy. He's very alert, and I know Ken loves his meat, so this will be a whole other topic of discussion. But we have actually talked about this many times. But Keith is a great example of someone who is vegan and ultra healthy at 85. Very, very sharp. He looks about 60. He's amazing. Like Ronald Bradley, of course. Ronald I interviewed for Media Queen TV recently about the art of self-discipline, and Ronald is 83 now. And he's also very vibrant. He runs the Hippocrates Centre where Emma's doing her event on Saturday. And for anyone who goes on Saturday or who knows Ronald, he's extraordinary. 83, very fit and healthy, amazing man, making a huge difference in the world. And he's just getting started. He believes he'll live to 115. So let's see what happens there. But any thoughts on that, Emma, on what we're just talking about there?
Well, it's funny you should mention food because I'm currently fasting. Yeah, so I've done quite a few 3-day fasts, just water fasts, But yeah, this time I was guided to do a 21-day fast. So basically, I'm halfway through. Yeah, so this is day 11 of a 21-day fast.
Wow!
So
I haven't eaten.
So what's interesting about that is that it's actually one of the concepts that I teach my clients. So I not necessarily 21-day fast and different things like that. Eventually, sure, they can do that. But with the kind of clients and where they're at in their journey with their health and weight, talking about a 21-day, that's not a good place to start with them. So what I commonly teach is how to do intermittent fasting sustainably and as a lifestyle. And I teach them how to use that concept and have it be absolutely 100% sustainable. Because here's the thing, and I really love the fact that you're doing the extended fasted stuff, because we'd be here forever if I go over like all the health benefits behind extended fasts like that, stem cells, like all kinds of different things happen in your body. There's so much healing, cell healing, and different things like that goes on in your body when you do extended fasts like that. I myself haven't tried an extended fast like that, just because, that's just kind of like, I have my own like methods and different things like that. But I think it is important to not be eating multiple meals per day. Number one, our ancient ancestors weren't obsessed with eating 5, 6, 7 meals per day. And so why are we today? And on another note, let's ask the question while we're on the topic, where did the whole concept of 3 meals per day come from? It didn't come from science. You got it. You're probably the first person I've ran into that understands that and that knows that. That's actually been a recent discovery of mine. I've always been a believer that multiple meals per day is not a good thing. When I read that research about 2.5, 3 months ago, I was like, okay, now that's cemented in for me. Now I know that what I'm doing is correct. So that's one of the reasons why it's one of the concepts I teach my clients, intermittent fasting in a sustainable state. We find their sweet spot to start, and then we camp there for 2 or 3 weeks, and then we do, like one of my clients said to me about 4 or 5 months ago when I moved the cheese on him. He's like, "You're about to move the cheese on me, right?" And I said, "Yep." So now we're going to work to this time frame. Now we're going to extend it here, and then we sit there for another 2 or 3 weeks. So your body gets used to it. And then you end up at 1 to 2 meals per day. And I believe that that's really healthy on a hormonal level as well. When you think about the concept of insulin and you're eating multiple meals per day, what's going on with your insulin? It actually doesn't matter how healthy you're eating. Insulin still gets spiked. And if somebody's out there, they're eating 5, 6, 7 meals per day, that's 5, 6, 7 times insulin is being spiked in their body. And guess what? Even though they're eating healthy, they can still be pre-diabetic. So there's like a whole bunch of things you can unpack with that. But yes, I love the concept of fasting, especially when it comes down to like the intermittent fasting concept. Anyhow, back to you, my friend.
Yes, well, I've been doing a bit of intermittent fasting, and I do find it fantastic. And Emma, it's brilliant that you're doing 21 days. Oh my gosh, that's a big mission. Now, have you done a few smaller fasts before, or like what's your fasting routine?
Yeah, I've done quite a few 3 days fasts.
Okay, so this is your first one. You're going straight from 3 day to 21 days.
Yeah, in the past, I've done 3-day fasts. Yeah, where I've just had water for 3 days. But yeah, with the 21 days, I am having hydrolytes as well as taking B12 and iron as well. And I'm allowed to have like black coffee, but yuck, So that's pretty much it really. But yeah, look, I feel great, and I feel really clear. And I just knew I used to be plant-based. I was, vegan for nearly 10 years. And then I sort of fell off the wagon a bit, with halloumi cheese basically and chocolate. So I just kept eating and getting into cheese and chocolates, and I just thought, what am I doing? I just knew that I just had to just have an absolute reset. I know I needed one, with I've never been raw before, but obviously they're live foods, they come from Mother Earth. So they're going to be nourishing. And Mother Earth, I think along the way, we sort of lost faith in Mother Earth, in terms of being able to nourish us fully. And she can, she can provide everything that we need. We don't actually need the other stuff. But I guess many years ago when food was scarce, then people started hunting, for survival. And the same with things like gluten and, like wheat, I guess they were sort of survival foods, so they were crap, but they kept you alive, So yeah, so I mean, everything's energy. So and I was offered. I went to a party a few weeks ago, and I was offered some drugs, and I said to them, if it doesn't come from Mother Earth, I said I don't trust it, you know, anything that's made in it. But yeah, she can nourish us. She actually can, and I think we lost our faith along the way, in a big way. And I also think that eating meat and overindulging, is very much a king queen thing as well. So a lot of people feel luxurious, when they're at a table and they're having a big feast with all these, indulgent foods, but and they feel worthy and they feel royal and they feel, abundant. But it's basically, what's it doing to their body? Like they're putting all this stuff into their body and it's taking a long time to break down. It's making them tired, and doing all sorts of other things. But really, if you really wanted to live in terms of longevity, you'd probably be raw, raw vegan, probably. But whether we can do that or not. But that being said, I think you've got to do what's right for you. And I think, and I certainly don't judge, anyone with their decisions, but, you are what you eat, basically. And everything carries a frequency, including food. Because there's so many chemicals in food, obviously it's messing with everything. It's messing with all our systems. You're absolutely right, Ken. It's messing with everything. And so I just really want to have a reset. And when I do break this fast, I'm just going to try and install some new habits. I'm going to get off the things that, anything we crave, anything that, usually it's something that's bad for us, because we really want it. But anyway, we'll see how I go. Yeah,
that's amazing. I'm shocked that you've gone from 3 days, from a 3-day fast to a 21-day fast. Why the big jump?
I just felt guided to do it.
Okay.
So, yeah. And the strangest thing is I hardly felt hungry. It's bizarre. I honestly don't feel hungry. It's almost like I'm a breatharian. I'm basically a breatharian. And I heard about breatharians, and I used to think, yeah, sure. But I actually feel like a breatharian this last week.
Wow. And have you noticed yourself getting much like lighter or skinnier, or have you noticed your body changing?
Well, my normal weight is around 58 kilos, but I was kind of going up and down to, I think I reached 54 at one point. And I'm like, I don't know how this is happening. It's just not. So basically I've lost about 5 kilos already. It's only been 11 days. It's crazy.
Wow.
I know.
Wow. That's extraordinary.
So get weight loss pills and all of that. Just fast.
That's awesome. I love that. And it does reset your body. I've heard a lot of positives, as Ken was saying, a lot of positives of fasting that, it makes you younger. It gets rid of, all sorts of crap out of your body. And it helps with parasite removal too. Is that correct? Do you know about that, Ken? What happens to parasites when you fast?
It does help with parasite removal. Now, I'm not as studied in parasites. That's a subject I have not dived into yet. And so I don't really have any solid things to say about it just because I haven't done the deep research for myself. But yeah, no, fasting is definitely a great thing. Intermittent fasting as a lifestyle is excellent. And one of the reasons why, Emma, you're experiencing right now fat loss and you're experiencing low hunger is because your body has reset to the state that it was meant to be in, where your body relies on its own body fat for energy. That is where our bodies actually thrive. That is what we were actually meant the state we were actually meant to be in. What's interesting is, so another thing is you mentioned cravings. Well, one of the things that my deep research has uncovered about craving, snacking issues, hunger issues, including emotional eating, is the industry processed foods. So the foods that are man-made, not foods that were given to us by God, but the foods that are man-made, the industry processed foods, are literally designed not for better nutrition, not for a better way of eating. They are literally designed to bring you to what's known as the perfect bliss point. Not above, not below, but the perfect bliss point. So, in essence, they are designed for addiction, and they are also designed for profit. Nothing to do with nutrition. That even goes down to the 1992 mainstream food pyramid that came out. That food pyramid literally had nothing to do with nutrition. It wasn't about nutrition. It wasn't about a better way of eating. It was about sending people into a system of foods that are designed for addiction and profit. That's all it was about. That's the cold hard truth around it. These industry processed foods are designed to create the emotional eating. The sad part about this is there are so many people out there that think they're broken. They think there's something wrong with them. They think they're the ones with the problem, lack of self-control, and they're beating themselves up with this. What they don't realize is, okay, yes, they had a choice. There is a small bit of choice that they did have. But what they don't realize is this industry has been stacked against them from day one and has created those issues inside of them. And they have taken that identity onto themselves thinking they're the problem. No, you're not. It's an industry that's been stacked against you.
Yeah. They're drugged. They're full of drugs and poisons, basically. Yeah, so it's all feeding into Big Pharma again.
Oh, yes. Yeah. It's a big, giant profit circle. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been buying, my veggies and fruit, etc., from the fruit shops a lot more. It's very rare that I'll get anything from a supermarket nowadays. And gee, the taste of the food is so much better. I mean, even better if you can grow your own veggies, which we do have some as well, your own veggies and your own fruit in your own yard. Even better again. However, really, we have no idea what crap is on our food. And, especially at the supermarkets, because they have to have the food lasting for a very long time. So often they will gas the food to ripen it, because they'll buy, like tomatoes, they'll buy green often, and then they'll gas it to ripen them and things like that. So there's all sorts of, shonky practices that go on with supermarkets when it comes to our food. And even organic. I don't know how organic is either. Do you know much about that, Emma? How do you do your food when you do it?
I mean, if you can do organic, I think that's much better, obviously. But that being said, I think with all the Monsanto spraying going on out there, I think the wind can blow it to organic fields anyway. So I don't think you're completely safe. Also, you've got the spraying in the sky and the rain coming down, and obviously that's contaminating. So I think it's really, dodging the poisons has been, such a mission for everybody, over the years, and just, even trying to get some water, what's the best water and how can I, filter my water in the best possible way. It's just, dodging the poisons is so hard.
I'll speak into the water for just a second. So, because I know that there's a lot of people out there that sell these $1,000 water systems. And I'm sorry if you're listening to this and you're one of those people. I'm so sorry, but I'm about to kind of like crash on your world a little bit here. I don't think we need all that. I really don't think we need all that. Now, I've had my experience with the Brita filters. I've had my experience with the Pure filters. I've had my experience with all of that. And I've had my extended frustrations with all of that. They don't work, because I'm going to tell you, if it does not say on the package or box that it takes away 99.9%, if they don't tell you how much, it is very little that it's filtering your water, and you think you're drinking something good. The one system that I have found, and I found a way to make it affordable, is the reverse osmosis system. And the reason why I latch on to that is because, well, number one, I found one on Amazon for $150. Very affordable.
Wow.
I can recommend it to my clients. And here's how it works. It's not one of those big systems that you have to install throughout your house and all that other stuff. It's a real simple countertop system with 5 filters on it. I think it's 5. It's either 5 or 4. And you hook it right up to your faucet. Takes you 10 minutes to install. Now, the reverse osmosis system, what's known about that type of water is it strips water of everything, including the healthy minerals. So how do you get the healthy trace minerals back in? Well, that's simple as well. Just a little teaspoon of pink Himalayan salt, not even a whole teaspoon, maybe half. Add it to your cup or add it to your gym water bottle or something like that. That's how you get your electrolytes back in. That's how you get your minerals back in the water. Keep it simple and affordable. These are things that I've researched because I want to give my clients affordable options. I don't want to gouge my clients with $1,000 water filter and say, this is what you need. That's not sustainable, right? So that's what I'll say about water.
Yeah.
Yes, well, we have fluoride in our water supplies here on the Gold Coast and many parts of Australia. And fluoride is very damaging, as much as the propaganda machine will tell you that it's great for your teeth enamel. It does actually calcify your pituitary gland, and which is our third eye and our insight and intuition, and it can also damage bones, and chlorine as well is toxic. So there's a lot of toxic stuff in the water supplies, and people have the Kangen machines out there, and some people swear by them. And I have, I paid $7,000 or something for my Kangen machine. And yeah, I know. And I actually wish I didn't now, because I have non-stop problems with the filter. I got a fluoride filter, and I got, and there's just constant, issues with the filter. I keep getting the filter, not working, etc. So I find that really difficult. Do you have any water filters, Emma, or how do you do your water?
Yeah, so I've got a Zazen, which is an affordable option. So what it does is it takes out 100% of the chlorine, but it takes only 70% of the fluoride out. So I knew that about it, but it does put the minerals back in through the stones.
Nice.
I got to a point of it's not high enough. It's just not high enough frequency for me. I knew that. So I started buying spring water, and that's sort of mineralized as well. So I do buy, I get, and then the kids got onto it as well. So I just every time I'm at the shops, I just have to get a massive crate of water. But that being said, I think the reverse osmosis is actually a good option, to be honest. And because I actually do believe, I had a friend that's got one, and I've got another friend who's just about to spend $6,000 on getting all of that installed. But it's also filtering out the water in the showers as well, which also is another thing, because when they came to visit her, an experiment was done on the skin, and it basically absorbed all the chlorine within minutes, within a minute, I think it was. So every time you shower, you're kind of like absorbing all of that chlorine as well. So I did have a shower filter as well, but I think I probably need to replace it, But yeah, I've heard people have got vitamin C ones. There's all sorts of ones out there. But yeah, I think if you can kind of get the reverse osmosis happening for drinking, and then maybe something else for the rest of the house, the showers and everything would be good. But it's just finding the right thing. But yeah, look, everything.
Finding the right thing that isn't going to gouge your budget too. That's
absolutely. Yeah, you're going to do what's right for you. But yeah, you're absolutely right, Aldwyn. It does block the pineal gland, which is a third eye, which basically stops the energy from moving up the chakras, up to source. So it's and if you haven't got if your third eye is blocked or out of balance, then you won't have clarity, you won't be able to see properly. So it's the easiest way to dumb people down, which is probably why they did it in the first place. But I haven't been able to give up fluoride toothpaste yet, because I sort of did go on to the natural stuff, but again, I just wasn't happy with the taste or the result of that. So I haven't given up fluoride, altogether, because it's still in the toothpaste. But yeah, if they can bring out one that's as good as, like whitening wise, and like you say, don't end up with yellow teeth. Who wants yellow teeth?
Right. We've actually found a really simple brand on Amazon that doesn't taste too bad. It's made with fresh peppermint, and it actually tastes fresh. And I'm sure we can find an even healthier one, but this is sustainable. It's affordable. It actually tastes good, and there's no fluoride in it or anything like that. So I believe the brand is called David's, and you can find it on Amazon. There's different types you can get. You might want to take a look at that. Now, like I said, I don't know what else is in it and stuff like that, but it's a step that we've taken in the right direction as far as fluoride goes, fluoride toothpaste. And I think it tastes fairly good. So yeah, that might be an option for you.
There we go. Thanks for that. Yeah. But yeah, look, obviously water and food is, all frequency, all different frequencies, different vibrations. So, but other than that, what I do through my work is, a lot of the time people don't realize that every thought carries a frequency as well. So what happens is, how I sort of describe it is, if a thought comes in, and you kind of, if it's a negative thought, for example, you kind of got to like bring another thought in, basically, to sort of negate it. And I always say, use it 3 times, so if a thought comes in and it's like, I can't do this, or I'm going to mess it up, then you say, no, that's not true. This is all going to work out and I can do this. And so you say it 3 times and then you negate the negative. But if you sort of like start complaining or gossiping or any of that, or anything like that, or if you keep on that, path of, the negative thinking, you're going to start spiraling down. So I always say, what's the thought doing? Is it spiraling up to source or is it spiraling down? So it's like, you've got to nip it in the bud. You've got to stop the spiral, basically. You got to intervene, and you've got to stop the spiral from getting lower and lower, because the more you let it go, the more lower and the worse things get, so you just be like, really heavy, and then it'll just be like everything else will be negative. You'll attract all other negative things because you've spiraled down, so another really important thing to keep your frequency high is to be very aware of your thoughts, and really observe them, and really intervene in terms of whether this thought is serving my highest good or if it's not. So this is super important, because what happens is the thought becomes an emotion, and then the emotion becomes, the ailment in the body. So thoughts are really, really important, and we really need to manage them, as best as we can. Every thought is energy, basically, and people don't seem to realize that. And every word is energy, so using those choice of words, and I remember, I think it was Doreen Virtue, I think her and her son many years ago had a machine where they were measuring the frequency of words. And I thought that was really fascinating. Yeah. But yeah, every word carries a frequency, basically. Every number carries a frequency. Everything has energy, everything. So yeah, it's really, those are the sorts of things that will really benefit you, in terms of raising your vibration, apart from what we put in our body. And obviously, being active, physically active, and Mother Earth and Sun and all those things, but definitely looking after your mind and being a third-party observer of your thoughts and managing them, as positively as you can, because the power of positive thinking is like phenomenal, and people just underestimate it, I think, a lot of the time.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a daily practice. It's not something that you kind of stay positive all the time. Most people have a negativity bias, right? And we're conditioned that way by the media, by, TV, television, by the channeling that we've had through the mainstream media for years, by the dramas on Netflix. We're conditioned to live in fear, to be at a very low spiral state in this energy spiral, with spiral dynamics. Very interesting, this journey, this dance that we have between being positive and being negative. And I think we need to be able to navigate through that at times, because I don't think always positive is a completely natural state, although a lot of animals are generally mostly positive. I mean, if we could be like a dog and just have awe and wonder about everything, like most dogs do, or even children, little toddlers, they've got so much awe and wonder and excitement about the world. And then often the older we get, the more bitter and twisted and resigned and cynical we often get as well as we get older. So I was looking up some notes. I mentioned earlier that I was on this Success Resources event last night from 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. And Robert Raymond Riopel and Sifu Aaron Huey were the guys that were presenting. And I want to go to what they were saying about energy, because I just thought this is just so perfect, the fact that I was watching this. It was, like I tend to RSVP for a lot of events online because there's all these really cool things, and I often don't get to them. But this one just popped up on my notifications, and I thought, oh, yeah, that's cool. I can actually do that right now. And so they were talking about the 5 states that are absolutely free that can boost your energy. And they mentioned get better sleep, drink more water. We're talking about healthy water. Drink more healthy water. Eat healthier food is number 3. Move your body, number 4. And breathing exercises. They mentioned breath work for number 5. And also I would add to that, get some sunshine, get out in nature, connect with the trees, hug a tree, get into the ocean. All those things are so powerful. Connect with animals, with birds. I find it fascinating watching birds sometimes, or lizards, or even ants sometimes. I think all animals are just extraordinary, although we tend to demonize some animals. Like, people say, oh, you're such a pig. They go, and the cops, the police in Australia are often called pigs, right? And I think that is actually an insult to pigs, because pigs are beautiful animals and they're highly underrated. They're very, very intelligent.
They're very intelligent.
Very intelligent. We tend to demonize animals and we put people on pedestals. And I think with this whole depopulation agenda that's been going on the last 5 years particularly, I think in some ways it's probably a good thing, because I think with less humans on the planet, then Mother Nature can come back in its glory. But, human beings are doing a great job of destroying the planet. And that's a concern for me. How many endangered species do we have, because of human damage? How many rainforests have we taken down? How much, it's crazy. The fire ant poisoning that's happening at the moment, the government is paying over $1.2 billion to poison Australia with the fire ant eradication treatment. And you can kill fire ants with hot water. You do not need to be putting poison everywhere that's killing a lot of the animals, that's poisoning our water supplies, et cetera, et cetera. So look, there's a lot of amazing people in the world and in the planet. However, I think if we got rid of a lot of our politicians, I think we'd be doing well. I think, we'd really be, on the right path, because clearly we can't trust any of them, right? We can't trust any of them. I'm very resigned and cynical about politicians. And yes, my energy goes down when I talk about it. Like Donald Trump, he was a stand for peace. I thought, fantastic. Here's someone who's a stand for peace. And all we've seen since Donald Trump got in is bloody war after war. It doesn't seem to be much peace going on here. Anyway, I'm not going to get into politics. And, I am now, I'm really feeling it's amazing how much politicians will just tell you what they think you want to hear. And then they get into power and they just do the exact opposite. It's like John Howard said he wasn't going to bring in the GST in Australia. The minute he gets in, he brings the GST into Australia, right? Which is 10% goods and services tax. Anyway. I'm not going to get started on it. But, this is energy, right? This is all energy. Like, notice what is it that you get upset by, that you get angry by. Now, in me sharing that, I feel a lot better now because I've just released it, right? I've just released it. And now I bring myself back to a positive state and be grateful for this knowledge and grateful that I'm able to share on this platform. And, take it or leave it. Everyone's going to have different opinions depending on their experience of life. However, these things we're talking about today, simple things you can do to boost your energy, simple, natural, free things you can do to boost your energy are extraordinary. And, talking about toothpaste, now I found a really cool resource, because I found this bicarb soda toothpaste, which is really great. And you can actually make your own bicarb soda toothpaste. And if you actually go to wikihow.com, there is a link there that shows you how to make your own baking soda toothpaste. And it's very, very good. Some people have charcoal toothpaste too, but I do recommend check that out for a natural alternative to fluoride toothpaste. And, at the end of the day, look, we're all going to die eventually. None of us are getting out alive, at least in this version of reality. Although they do say that souls are ageless, and who knows what happens when we die. We have a lot of theories around that. Emma, what do you think that happens when we die from this existence?
Well, we'll pass over, and I'm not sure. Everyone's going to be going into different places, I guess. I guess it's returning to our soul groups and our soul, our origin. But that being said, I always made jokes about, I always had a feeling this was my last incarnation on Earth, but never say never, because I do love Earth. But apparently she's ascending too, so her soul might be leaving as well. In which case, it's just be the body that remains. But yeah, I always made jokes about, going to live on Venus and retiring on Venus. And I made jokes about that. And as I got older, I sort of thought, actually, this could well be a reality, So I've had some connection with Venus, and I've had visions of Venus, and recently Atlantis as well. I think there's a lot of ancient wisdom that's coming to the surface, and everything that's going on in the world, all the control systems sort of like being dismantled, and it's a wonderful thing. And I think we just need to focus on what we're birthing, and where focus goes, energy flows, so there's no point focusing on what is. It's more productive to focus on what we want to create. What do we want? Okay, we don't want this, we don't want these corrupt politicians, we don't want the corruption and greed in the world. What we want are systems that actually genuinely support people, that genuinely support the community and bring people together, and are for everybody's highest good. And that's what we really want. So what do those systems look like? What are we birthing? What do we want to birth, and how are we going to do it? And coming together and working through those scenarios. But the interesting thing is that everything that's going on in the world is also going on in our life. So I don't know if you've noticed, but people don't want to be controlled anymore. People don't want to be manipulated anymore. And there's a lot of manipulation that goes on in social circles, and in groups, where people just want to get what they want, get somebody to bed or whatever it is, and it's like there's a lot of everything that's going on a world level is happening in our own lives. So it's really interesting to see it play out, But yeah, we're done. We're actually done with authority. We're actually done with authority. Full stop. We're done with it. We don't need to be governed anymore. We can govern ourselves. And those. The timelines are splitting anyway. Those who are sort of, stuck in their own kind of loops will just continue to attract those people that are going to help them with those loops. And then those that evolve will attract those they will evolve with. And that's where the split is going on. And that's what my guides have shown me. So it's really, really interesting. But it's about doing the work. We have to do the work, and we have to change ourselves. And we really do have to shed the past. We really do have to release all the programming. So listening to everything in our body, and this, really observing every emotion that we have and every trigger that we have, and really doing that work on ourselves. As soon as we change ourselves, the mirror changes as well. And it's looking through our own lens as opposed to the lens that they want us to look through. Really just selecting, I choose to look through this lens. This is my lens, and it's not naivety and it's not ignorance. It's more, I'm a creator. I personally believe that God is within us, and we are creators. We're all children of God. We're all creators. So we're here to create. And what we need to know is that everything in our life we've created, so we can recreate and we can create something new. And this is what we have to realize. We have to realize our own power. That's just the most important thing. And then start creating something different. We're not, and going back to the psychology of things, working through all the archetypes. This is all part of the shadow work, working through all the archetypes. And there's no power in victim. There's no power in that at all. We're not victims of this corrupt government. It's like they are there for a reason. And the underdog, right? The underdog coming out on top is a great celebration. So if we didn't have that contrast, we wouldn't be so joyful and elated when we finally birth these new systems and all these old systems fall down flat. So we just got to focus on what we really want, in our own life, in our own world, what we really want. And that's where our focus needs to go, because where focus goes, energy flows. And there's no point wasting our energy on observing something that's not pleasant to look at. Definitely acknowledge it, but don't dwell on it. I think that's really important. you know, and going back to the animal cruelty, you know, I used to be on the committee of the Animal Justice Party, you know, when in the early days. And, you know, I got to see some graphic things, and it did traumatize me. And I just decided that I'm not going to subject myself to that stimuli again, because that stimuli goes into a subconscious, you see. And so I think, you know, again, something else that we haven't mentioned is stimuli, you know, what you put in, what you observe, what you decide to read and watch and listen to. These are all stimuli that you're observing, that you're bringing into your subconscious mind. And again, is it positive? Is this for my highest good? So I'm really, really selective about what I look at. And I gave up buying newspapers in my 20s, you know, and magazines and all of that. And then I actually gave up social media and took my social media down, like during COVID, because I just thought it was my big stand to big tech, my stand up to big tech. And then I sort of regretted it because I lost all my networks. So it probably wasn't my wisest move, to be honest. But that being said, I ended up having to go back on it, you know, for work reasons. And but anyway, I think we've got to be, again, it's really about where we choose to focus our energy, you know. And if it doesn't make us feel good, then it's not for our highest good. And that's just how I sit with it.
Oh, I love that, Emma. That's beautiful. Yeah, what we think about and thank about, we bring about is another great quote. What we think about and thank about, we bring about. So having gratitude for, you know, things that do lift our energy, and noticing, okay, do I feel better about life because of this thing I've just viewed or you know, experienced, or do I feel worse about my life? And if I feel worse, then, you know, how can I, you know, express that, release that, be grateful for the learning in that, and then let it go and then move to a higher vibration. It is a moment by moment choice in life, and being mindful, getting conscious where we've been unconscious, I think is really, really important. And I love the quote by Hippocrates, let food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food. We've talked a fair bit about food here, and that is an absolutely golden quote. And Hippocrates, of course, is the ancient Greek physician known as the father of Western medicine. And Hippocrates is where your event, of course, is on the beautiful Health and Wellness Retreat Centre in Madraba. You're holding your event on Saturday. Can you tell us a little bit more about that, please, Emma?
Yeah, so it's a real going to be a gathering of some beautiful people, and we'll be doing meditation activations, opening up the heart. So this is a real focus on the upper chakras, so bringing the heart energy up. So yeah, we'll be going in deep on the throat chakra and learning a lot more about how that works, you know, and how we can really open, you know, what having a balanced throat chakra really looks like, how we can really open up and expand that. And then obviously our third eye, open up our third eye and activating this pineal gland. And then our crown chakra up to the soul star. And the soul star chakra is really about taking the seat of the soul. So it's about living our life purpose, you know. So I guess it's acknowledging, you know, our gifts and what we incarnated to do, you know. You know, because we all have a calling, you know, we all have a soul purpose. And, you know, quite often, you know, you're raising children and you're surviving and, you know, doing all these things and all the gifts that you have sort of on the back burner, you know. But yeah, I mean, as the children grow up and you've got more time, and I'm at that phase of life myself, you know, my son's 20, my daughter's 18, you know, I'm at that phase of life now where I can begin to really take those steps and really step towards what I came here to really do. And I'm just to encourage everybody else to do the same, you know, because, you know, we all have gifts, and it's about sharing our gifts. And, you know, if money wasn't an issue, a lot of people would be doing something different. You know, if we didn't have mortgages to pay and rents to pay, most people may not be doing the occupation they're doing right now. So, you know, and there is discussion about a universal income, and they've talked about it in universities for years, you know. It's got to come into play. And then it will be more about community. And AI is obviously going to take over a lot of jobs. So it really is about using our gifts and how can we give back to community, you know. and what did I come here to share? You know, because if we were not surviving, worried about surviving on this hamster wheel that we've been on, take us off the hamster wheel and give us, you know, space to be who we are, who we truly are, our most authentic version of ourselves, then we'd all be doing something quite different. You know, it's just be more of a soul expression. We'll be living our soul expression as opposed to surviving, you know, and to pay the bills. Anyway, did I waffle on?
Oh, no, it's all gold. I can't wait for Saturday. It is going to be an amazing workshop for those here on the Gold Coast. We would love to see you there. You will find the booking details at the Hippocrates website. So if you go to hippocrates.com.au/event and have a look in there, you'll see the direct link to book in for that workshop. It is by donation, and Destiny Rescue is the recipient of the donations there, and Destiny Rescue is doing an amazing job to help end sexual exploitation and trafficking of children, which is massive around the world. So a great cause there, Emma. It's going to be an amazing workshop, and I know you're almost sold out. So if people want to come along, then better get in quick before it does sell out. That is the link there. And Emma, if people want to connect with you in general for some of your other work, how can you help them?
Yeah, they can go to spirituallifecoach.com.au and contact me through there. Yeah.
Okay, beautiful. Spirituallifecoach.com.au. I'll pop that in there as well, and connect with Emma. So you do Reiki. What other sessions can you help people with? With the PMF, I guess, as well.
Yeah, look, to be honest, I combine them all. So when I did the Reiki, I sort of thought I'm going to add guided meditation, and then I got into the PMF. It was actually during COVID when I found out about 5G, and I went down that rabbit hole and about the EMFs and what that's doing to, you know, because potentially it could be causing a lot of mental health issues, including dementia and Alzheimer's. So I actually discovered, so that obviously the EMFs and what they do to us and our brains, but then I discovered the PMFs, which are sort of the opposite of that, you know. So if you think about the microwave energy and the Himalayan salt lamp, you know, they're kind of opposites. So it's a bit like that. It's the negative ions, you know, and the photons and the infrared and all of that. So yeah, it's basically, I combine them all into one treatment.
Fantastic. Well, that sounds absolutely amazing. I'm sure people can definitely benefit from that. And the 5G towers are absolutely everywhere since COVID. And interesting, my mum's dementia's gone downhill fast as well in the last 5 years. How fascinating. Must be complete coincidence, I guess. I don't know how that could happen. Or the fluoride in the water supply is probably not helping either. But anyway, let's move right along. So that's great that you went down that rabbit hole, because it led to a really positive thing for you doing your PMF treatments, and you're helping a lot of people with that. Yeah. So this is a great example, right, of shifting the energy, of getting the knowledge and then putting it into something positive.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we've got to focus on our well-being, you know, we've got to rise above all of these, you know, systemic poisoning, basically.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, totally. And do you have a favorite quote or motto you'd like to share with us today, Emma?
Yeah, look, a firm favorite is live and let live, really, because I think we need to live in. I've always loved that one, just because non-judgment is really important, you know, and as long as it doesn't hurt animals or people, then let people be who they want to be.
Yeah, beautiful. Love that. Thank you, Emma. It's been amazing having you as a guest. We are about to wrap up, but we'll come back again if you have final comments. Now let's move over to Ken. How can people connect with you, Ken?
All right. Well, some of you may have definitely got some hints that I'm some sort of a health coach. Yes, my brand is Mastery Weight Loss. And it's Mastery Weight Loss because moving forward, it's got to be about mastering that journey. No more diets, no more start and stop, no more any of that. It's got to be about owning the journey now, because you have become the journey. And right now, I am literally giving away my 3 secrets. See, I've lost 62.5 pounds, and I've kept it off for 7+ years now without a diet and having that be sustainable. And like I said, right now I'm giving away my 3 secrets to help you feel energized, lose weight, get healthy without starving or dieting in just 3 powerful one-on-one sessions with me. I have a mini educational boot camp that exposes the 3 biggest lies that are keeping people sick, stuck, and overweight, because that's how that industry makes money. And I'm showing people how they can fuel their body God's way and finally break free and keep the weight off for life, like I've been able to do sustainably and without a diet. So to get into my world and to connect with me and get into that boot camp, which is very reasonably priced, you can go to www.masteryweightloss.com/connect. And on that page, you will see 4 different buttons. The first one is going to be a button to get into my educational boot camp. Just another thing about that boot camp, it's not an eating plan. It's not a workout plan. It's a foundation for you to move forward on. So there's a button for that. There's a button to book a free strategy call with me. Maybe you don't know what your next steps are and you kind of want to find out what is going to be good for you. Let's get on a strategy call. Let's unpack that together. Okay, let's find out what's going to be the best for you. Number 3 and 4 is to connect with me on my YouTube channel, subscribe there. And then the other one is to connect on my Facebook. Very easy page to find. It's one that I custom made. It's just very simply put together. www.masteryweightloss.com/connect. And I didn't have time to pull up a quote today, so it's going to be kind of a motto. And I pretty much already said it in this episode. Remember that in every circumstance, every challenge, every trial, every storm that comes in your life, remember, you have a choice. You always have a choice. You can choose to be a victim of that circumstance, or you can choose the higher path, more empowering road, and put yourself in control in the driver's seat. Doesn't mean the storm's gone away. It just means you've chosen not to be a victim of that circumstance. All right, so that's it for me.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Ken. And before we go to how people can connect with me or my quotes, I'm actually going to share a few quotes on energy. I love this topic. We did have an unanswered question, which will be an open loop for some people earlier in the show, where we asked what happens to parasites when you water fast, because Emma is at day 11 of a 21-day water fast and going strong, which is extraordinary. So that means you'll still be fasting on Saturday as well. Amazing. For a catered event, Emma, so you won't be eating any of your own catered food.
It's hard. I can't. Because normally when I taste test when I'm making food, but I can't this time, so I have to really trust my intuition.
Oh,
so no.
Oh, I'm sure it's going to be amazing. So what happens to parasites when you water fast? Okay, now on a quick search of this, when water fasting, the body initiates autophagy, a process where it cleans out damaged cells and unwanted organisms, including parasites. While fasting may support the body's natural detoxification process, the effectiveness of water fasting in removing parasites is not guaranteed. And you can read more about that. But basically, parasites can actually adapt to fasting by utilizing stored nutrients or slowing their metabolism, making fasting an ineffective standalone method for parasite removal. Isn't that interesting? So do your own research on that. Of course, everything we say is just from the knowledge that we've gained. Always do your own research, question everything. But hey, I think, I know pumpkin seeds are very good to get rid of parasites.
Yes,
so pumpkin
that
seeds.
Much I do know, correct, yes.
I can highly recommend pumpkin seeds. We all have parasites, okay? I think no matter how much fasting you do, there's always going to be some parasites hanging around, sometimes in the human form and sometimes in micro form in your gut. So, so look into parasites. Fascinating. Okay, some quotes about energy, and then I'll go to how you can connect with me. Okay. Now, of course, I love this one by Nikola Tesla. If you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. And here's a great one here. Aristotle says, the energy of the mind is the essence of life. Kevin Ansbro says, focus on an ocean of positives, not a puddle of negatives. And whatever we think of Donald Trump, he has got a great quote here. Without passion, you don't have energy. Without energy, you have nothing. Okay, so thanks to Donald Trump. Look, I must say, I do admire the guy's resilience. He's a very resilient man, and he does speak his truth no matter what people think, or he speaks his mind anyway. But now the Epstein files, now that's an interesting traveling there of the Epstein files. Do your own research. Apparently, Epstein was spotted alive with 2 bodyguards in Israel. So,
not a surprise.
Yes, not a surprise at all.
We
yes,
want
I didn't.
Full disclosure. That's what we want. Full disclosure.
Full
that's what we
disclosure.
really want. Yeah. That's
Exactly.
what we deserve.
Exactly. And people are waking up to all the BS. And I'm very grateful for that. Very, very grateful for that. Okay. Now to connect with me, go to linktree/Aldwyn. You'll see all my links there, linktr.ee/Aldwyn. You'll see my YouTube channel there. We have over 1,600 videos now. A lot of great inspiring content. Some of my other interviews on Media Queen TV, Media Mavens show, some of the previous shows we've had, and lots of other really cool stuff in there. Some of my favorite comedies, some meditation, focus music, all sorts of really cool stuff. So have a look at that and subscribe. If you haven't subscribed already, highly recommend you do that, and happy to subscribe to your channel too if you let me know your links as well. Let's support each other there. Also, we have a book project coming out called Fear to Freedom Series 2. This is about conscious creators manifesting magic. So our first book we did last year with 13 co-authors from around Australia, and this year teaming up with Dame Rita Rose, opportunity to come in and share your story of how you've transformed from fear to freedom by being in our next book, Fear to Freedom Book 2. That's coming up. And I do have a retreat I'm going to be running at Hippocrates Centre from the 10th to the 12th of April. We're booking the whole place out. It's going to be a conscious marketing retreat. So if you want to find out more about that, reach out. We've got sound healing by Leith James. We've got breath work with Sophie Gabriel. We've got Ronald Bradley's going to be speaking there about health. We've got a whole lot of really cool stuff. I'm going to share my 4 marketing pillars in detail. We're going to go through marketing strategy and how you can best increase your impact and make a bigger difference in the world and increase your freedom, of course, in the process. So lots of cool stuff there. Some free resources in my media website as well. Check it all out. It's all there. Connect on Instagram, LinkedIn, wherever you are. Let's connect on socials. Sending you very much love today. Thank you so much for joining us on Total Truth Show episode 125. I see we have Corinda here with us, one of our favorites. Great to see you there, Corinda, on Facebook. And he says, I've never seen Aldwyn wearing pink lipstick. I know this is very bright lipstick, but we have Valentine's Day coming up. So I thought I'd just bring out the love. And of course, pink is a beautiful love color. And thank you to Rita Barbagello from Red Peacock Cosmetics. It's a vegan makeup range that is awesome. Highly recommend the Red Peacock range of lipsticks. I don't know about if you're into lipsticks though, Corinda, but hey, these are good ones that stay on all day and easy to get off with coconut oil. There's another tip for you. Get makeup off with pure organic coconut oil. It works a treat. All right, much love. Any final words, Emma or Ken, before we wrap up today?
No, just thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Emma. And thank you. And this is your first interview. Yay. We have broken your podcasting virginity.
Something I often say with first interviewers, not just on the Total Truth Show, but I also have my own series that I interview people on. And when I get people on that it's their first time, the discovery is pretty much the same almost every single time. They get on and they're a natural. All it is just don't overthink it. Be yourself and don't worry about all the other stuff. And so with that, Emma, I've got to say, you're the same. You're a natural. You showed up. You spoke in your expertise and authority. You showed your thought leadership around your topic. So you're a natural, my friend. Don't overthink it. Get on a couple other podcasts. Do it again. Do not overthink it. You're welcome.
Yes. The world needs your wisdom. And actually, it's probably really the second, but the first maybe full interview, because I did interview Emma the other day after our BX networking meeting. We did have a little Facebook Live interview, but this is actually the first sort of full-length podcast or online TV show that we're doing. So it's kind of really the second, but the first sort of official, big one. So well done, Emma. Yay. Thank you for joining us. Stay awesome. If you like what you've seen, Thank you. If you like what you've seen, our beautiful guests, live or replay, let us know in the comments. Let us know, how do you boost your energy? What do you do that works a treat for you to increase your energy and generally have a greater experience of life? Wishing you all the very best. Share the love if you've enjoyed this today. If you haven't enjoyed it, then share the love anyway, because someone will probably need this information. So thank you, Emma. Thank you, Kent. We'll see you again soon for our next Total Boost episode. Thanks. Bye. Thank you. Bye.